Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is the Oneness Podcast. I am Jessica Delmar. In this episode, we're going to be talking about November Ascension Energy. Things are really turning up, and the very first thing that came through for November Ascension Energy is that things are getting weird. You may be noticing it within your own life, but things are becoming a little bit more strange and unusual. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that in this episode. November is really going to stretch the imagination. Life as you know it no longer exists the way that it used to. Remember your childhood? Yeah, that timeline actually no longer exists technically, and you are now light years away from where that version of the planet once existed. There are so many things happening on the planet right now that are trying to gather your attention away from this internal sense of self. The main thing to focus on is what you want out of your reality experience and aligning with the having of it. But not everyone is able to do this, as their energy is scattering across the globe, intertwined into all of these worldly events, right? So remember, your focus right now is on what you want out of your reality experience and aligning with the having of it. The focus here in doing so is intentional and internal sovereignty, with the purpose of feeding that energy into the intention and internal sovereignty of the planet. You see, when we get taken out of our internal power, we begin to feel a sense of powerlessness. And especially when it comes to things in the world that we cannot control, we must be ever more intentional with our internal energy supply. This does not mean that you do not care about the things that are going on in the world. It just means that you go about caring in different energetic ways, usually internally, than what others may be doing to outwardly care. The reason things on the planet are getting weird per se is not only because of the shifting and merging timelines that we've spoken about many times before, but because of collective thought patterns emerging from the void is what came through. Collective thought patterns emerging from the void. Think of the collective mind as similar to your individual mind. You hold stored thought patterns, thoughts that you keep on thinking that for many people have become beliefs. But there are other thoughts that are behind curtains, if you will. Thoughts that accumulate in both the individual mind as well as the collective mind that exist behind these sort of curtains. In other words, thoughts that you maybe shove under the bed or inside of a closet or don't really want other people to know that you're thinking. This also exists within the greater mind, holding thoughts, or it's almost like a thought bank of things that are behind the scenes or not fully present within our outward collective experience. Thoughts are energy. They do not just dissolve out of nowhere, but they go places, meaning they can gain momentum to manifest, they can be suppressed, or they can move through us. Thoughts behind curtains become stored energy, and sooner or later, those thought energies are going to be expressed in one way or another. Have you ever been triggered by something and allowed yourself to have thoughts that surround it and amplify it, only to make you angrier and more upset the more that you think about these things? For example, maybe your spouse did something in the morning that sort of triggered you in some way, and then they go and they leave for work, and you're left for the entire day kind of just thinking about that thing that triggered you, which leads to you thinking more about the person and other ways and other things that happened and so on and so forth. And by the time that your spouse comes home, you're expressly upset and angry, easily triggered, not necessarily at them, but because of the thoughts that you've been giving amplification to. This is the energy of November. Don't be afraid, because A lot of it is just old, stored energy releasing. And in particular, we want to talk about 3 things that may show itself this month of November in connection to this old, stored energy releasing. The first thing is an increase of clarity, or on the opposite side, an overstimulation of the mind. The second thing is unusual supernatural events, or on the other side, the gaslighting of perception. And the third thing is premonition dreams, or on the other side, end of world fears. So the first thing is an increase of clarity, or on the other side, an overstimulation of the mind. This is occurring with the purpose of connecting you with a higher sense of self and purpose. As dark clouds of inner thought begin lifting through you, a deeper and cleaner sense of clarity begins taking over. Giving less power to thought is what helps usher it into clarity. However, on the other hand, when you give power to thought, it overstimulates the mind. When you become more present with yourself, you allow thought to move through you because you understand that power is not in thought. Power is in the vibration that you give to thought. So, when you do not grant power to certain thoughts, or you begin lifting the power from certain thoughts, then you free up space for openings in the mind to receive clarity and knowledge from a higher flowing self. On the other hand, people who continue to give power to their thoughts will find themselves overstimulated and overstressed. Thoughts hold power over the body if you do not release them. So you must begin letting thought flow through the mind like water flows through a river channel. At this pivotal time, all thoughts that you try to hold on to or store in the mind will only activate this sort of sense of tectonic friction, if you will. So like a volcano, it will overflow into your reality as a flood of unwanted things that further fluctuate your relationship with your mind. So the second thing to look out for this month of November, but also as we move forward, is unusual supernatural events, or on the opposite side, gaslighting of perception. Supernatural activity is only going to be increasing from here on out, not just in November. By supernatural activity, we don't just mean ghosts and paranormal experiences, although many people will certainly start to have an increase of those experiences. But for the most part, we mean occurrences that are beyond the ordinary. So this includes spiritual or spirit animal encounters, numerical and other synchronicities, unfolding of events in very uncanny ways, meeting people who are soulmates or soul acquaintances, vortex energies amplifying, all the clairs activating or strengthening, so clairvoyance, clairsentience, all of those, instant manifestations, and having experiences that you cannot quite explain in a normal way. There is also an increase of other realm activity seeping into the physical realm space that we know of. This includes things such as giants, angels, Bigfoots, inner earth species, open portals, fairies, ancestral stories coming to life, and other very interesting things. The reason for this supernatural heightened activity is that all portals and stargates are opening on the planet. Not all were open before, and most were only able to be opened from the other side or the other realm, etc., not from this side. But because stargates have opened on the planet, other smaller portals and gateways are also opening as well, because of this sort of domino or magnet effect. This means that you can never be too careful when going through a cave or an inner earth dwelling especially. So, For example, dense wooded areas, underground caverns, and underwater caves are places where portals often exist between different planes or realms. The earth is abundant with many different vibrations and layers, and these portals act as sort of doorways in between these different vibrations and layers. And so many of these things we cannot see with the perception of our human eyes, but we feel in our ability to feel different vibrations and layers. The earth is shedding a lot of energy, which ends up revealing a lot of other energetic layers and forms. We would be naive to think that what we see as human beings is all that exists. So we're going to talk more about stargates this month of November, including how they are connected to the wars on the planet, artificial intelligence, and UFO or extraterrestrial activity. This information about stargates came through in October, but it seems that it has been waiting to be shared until this month of November. So on the other side, I found it interesting that the word gaslighting came through in terms of gaslighting of perception, because I'm not so much a fan of that word. So if it came through, then it must definitely mean something. So the gaslighting of perception will happen on the other side of things if minds are not open to receiving the supernatural activity occurring in our lives. In other words, the rejection of expansion reveals not a new way of life, but an old way of thinking that is trying to hold on to these old beliefs while rejecting, most likely unconsciously rejecting, new thoughts and experiences, whether it rises in the self or in other people. And the third thing to look out for in this month of November is the increase of these premonition dreams, or on the other side is end of world fears. Past energy rising is what is feeding and fueling a lot of this widened perception occurring, our ability to see beyond the veil or to see more than what we think or believe. In other words, people are receiving information and knowledge, especially through dreams, that help them see into other realms and timelines. The reason is because of all of this supernatural activity and timeline shifts that we've been talking about. Our energy is moving at rapid speeds, despite our physical forms feeling like they might be stagnant or not moving at all. It's kind of like that common scene in a movie or a TV show where the character stands still, but everything around that person is sped up in motion, and so you see all the lights zooming by, or people moving really rapidly around that person. This is essentially what is happening energetically right now. It feels like a swarm of energy all around us, but all that our physical bodies can do is sort of stay still. It kind of feels very zombie-like, disorienting, and unfocused. But eventually, we meet points in between where we can look around us and sort of catch up to the energy, if you will, or maybe the energy around us sort of slows down enough for us to realize where we are, enough for us to kind of peep our head above the clouds and see where we are. But when this happens, many people look around themselves in confusion and they're kind of like, where am I and how did I get here? So for many people, it feels like you're on this roller coaster without having much direction or say in terms of where it's going. So with that being said, this is an essential time for you to reclaim that energy, pull it inward, and focus on intention and internal sovereignty. The reason for heightened perception is because of this increase of energetic activity all around us. If you are conscious enough and focused enough, you can tap into that rapid moving energy. If you are unable to hold your consciousness and fall back into unconsciousness, then this is when you begin feeling very zombie-like, disoriented, lost, and unfocused as that speeding energy moves all around you. Tapping into this rapid moving energy instead of letting it pass you by often occurs in our dream state when we are more in union with it energetically and non-physically. So this is why many people are having very vivid dreams or thoughts, including recurring past dreams or dreams about past lives, and especially dreams that feel like they are living other lives within the dream. It's hard to generalize whether these dreams are premonitions or not, because what is essentially happening is we are tapping into this flow of stored energy within the collective mind and within our own minds. And so there are multiple possibilities, potentials, and timelines rapidly playing out all around us, but we don't notice it because it is occurring within different energetic spaces. This is simply the release of that stored energy. However, for those who have recurring dreams, this could be more of a premonition or a deep inner calling towards something. For people who have end-of-world dreams or premonitions, it is important that you do not give your fear to it. Instead, be open enough with yourself to uncover it. Many times, we have these types of dreams because it is our subconscious programmed through fear. However, under the fear is often a deeper message of renewal, strength, and rebirth. Facing our fears is key to integrating new vibrational experiences, which therefore take us into new realities that open energetically beyond the world we are programmed to see. Keep in mind that this is not about ignorance. This is about reclamation. If you want your world to be different, you must become that which you want. Your life is asking you to choose, and what you choose is what you will be. There is no right or wrong answer, only a deep inner calling that you can choose to listen to or not. There is an inner sovereignty waiting to be restored, but you must be able to let go of things that take your focus away from what is calling to you. November will be an interesting month for uncovering deep inner awareness, revealing new layers of perception, and emerging onto the other side of some major changes. And this is what came through for the November Ascension Energy. I look forward to seeing how this energy plays out in November. Keep yourself open to receiving however these new energetic layers are revealing themselves to you, and allow yourself to sit with whatever is revealed in a way where you are embracing it, in a way where you're open to it, and in a way where you are desiring deeper understanding of it rather than fear of it. If you'd like to receive the written transmission of this episode, head on over to my newsletter site. I'll post the link to my newsletter in the description of this episode. Sign up to receive all the written transmissions to all of the podcasts sent straight to your inbox, as well as other energy alignment messages. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your support. I'll see you in the next episode. Oneness, love, and peace be with you.